Hello, 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 everyone. How are we today? I'm assuming that a lot of people will be watching this after. I don't think a lot of people are coming on while I'm live. I'm thinking maybe this isn't a good fit for YouTube. Leave your comments below and tell me if you would rather see a recording than a live. I don't know what difference it makes, but I don't think that live is really a good fit for here. Anyhow, it is what it is. That's what we're doing today. My name is Barbara Moore, and this is Catch Your Breath 60. I have chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and heart failure. I also have some issues with my thyroid. And apparently, as I have heard lately, or heard a couple of people say to me, that there is a correlation between thyroid and COPD. But before I say that out loud, I will have to get that confirmed by somebody who's a little smarter than me. So, anyways, it is March 14th, 2023. I cannot believe how fast time goes, right? Today would have been my dad's birthday, and he would have been, pretty old. He was born in 1925. You do the math. There you are. Hi, Fred. Hi, Michelle. How are you? Hi, Janice. Oh, what a beautiful day out. We have had several storms, and we have about, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 feet of snow out there. Hi, Karen. Hi, Beverly. And it's kind of piling up a little bit, but it's absolutely beautiful and bright outside. So those days give you promise that something better is coming. However, for a lot of us, we could be looking at things like inclement weather. These storms that we've had have been massive and very unlike what we would expect in March, at least here in Southern Ontario, anyways. I can remember, this is March break for the kids. And I can remember my kids being out riding their bikes in shorts on March break. Now, not every March break, but I do remember them doing it. But they wouldn't be doing it this March break. I have the 3 boys today. And hi, Kathleen. Thanks for joining us today. You should talk to me about Thursday. If you're Canadian and you would like to join a support group for COPD, let me know. Send me an email, and I'd love to have you join us on Thursday afternoon. Anywho, inclement weather is coming. So what happens when the cold and the warm air meet? We all know what happens there. It's hurricanes, it's storms. You almost can't imagine what could happen, right? But it's times like these, when spring is going, when winter is turning to spring, and when summer is turning to fall. And these are the times that we get the worst weather. So whether you're having an exacerbation and have to go to the hospital, or whether it is inclement weather, there are good reasons why you may have to leave your house. And when it happens, you're usually in a pretty big hurry to get out of there. So in the case of an exacerbation, you'll be going to the hospital. In the case of inclement weather, we don't know where you're going to be going. You could end up at the hospital, especially if you're on oxygen and you don't have, and hi, Norma, and you don't have an outlet to get oxygen. You will have to go to the hospital and hang out on their wall for a little while until you get it all figured out, right? This has happened to me a couple of times when I've had exacerbations and had to go to the hospital. And what I found was that when I got there, I didn't have any of the stuff that kept me comfortable, that I needed to keep comfortable, the things that mattered to me. And so after a couple of times doing that, yes, you can share it, Michelle. After it's over, Michelle, down at the bottom, you will see a subscribe um, after we hang up, and then you'll see the share button down there. And yes, you're welcome to share. So what happens, the first time it happens to you that you've had to leave the house in an emergency situation, whether it's your emergency or somebody else's emergency, you get to where you're going and you don't have any of the things that keep you comfortable. And that's a terrible place to be. It's bad enough that we can't breathe. And it's bad enough that we can't get comfortable in any other place except that are of our own. But when we get someplace where we don't have the things that make us comfortable, it's just so much more aggravating. And it causes stress and anxiety for a lot of us. So I learned after my first trip to the hospital that I needed to go and get a go-to bag. And I've done a couple of articles on this because I think that everybody needs to be aware. Not only do we need to get an overnight bag, it doesn't have to be a big one, but it should be some kind of a suitcase that we can put our stuff into where we can just leave it there. This isn't a go-to bag like a carry-on where you would go vacationing. This is a go-to bag that you would take in an emergency. So here's what happened to us. We had neighbors behind us, and he was growing pot in a shed. He had a great big shed that was actually not permitted. But anyways, we didn't care, whatever. But he was growing pot in a shed, which meant that he had to dry it out. And when you dry it out, apparently you have great big lights on it, right? So my backyard abutted to his, and we had evergreens along the back. The shed went on fire. They said it was the mice who chewed through the wires and caused a fire. Well, that fire took all the trees in the backyard, and the smoke was coming towards my house. And as soon as we realized what was happening, we knew that we had to get out. We didn't want to, we didn't know where to go. We didn't have any place to go. So where were we going to? We were getting in the car and we were doing what? Just kind of driving around. Thank God that the firemen put the fire out, but it could have been a catastrophic problem. My backyard's pretty big, so I have quite a few feet between his house and mine, but it still could have been catastrophic, right? So after I had a couple of trips to the hospital, I learned and I went and got a bag. So the bag that you pick will be hopefully a bag on the smaller side. When you look at your bag, you have to consider the color, because you'll want your bag. Remember that everybody gets a black bag. Everybody has a black suitcase, right? So you want yours to kind of stick out a little bit. So the color matters. I'm a girl, so I can get hot pink if I want to. And I actually have seen some pretty cute suitcases that are small and in hot pink. The size matters. If you don't want to take too big a suitcase, If you've been in the hospital lately, you'll know that they don't give you much room in the room. So um, try to keep something on the smaller size. Also, check out your wheels. There's a difference in the wheels, okay? They have suitcases with 2 wheels and they have suitcases with 4 wheels. Check them out and see how it works for you. The one thing that will matter is that you might have to be pushing this yourself. And if you're pushing this bag yourself, you're going to want something that's going to be easy to maneuver. But you don't want something that's too easy to maneuver because it could get away from you, right? So you have to check out the wheels on it and see what feels comfortable for you. Once you have your bag and you have it home, we got to think about what to fill it with. So some of the things that we should be doing is clothing. Now, if you're going to the hospital, you don't need too much clothing. And the doctors and the nurses really do prefer, unless you're getting ready to come home, that you stay in their nightgowns, right? Because they're easy on, easy off, blah, blah, blah. I always have telemetry on. And so I've always got these wires coming out, right? So the clothes that you take need to be minimal. But what I do is I get old pajamas before I'm ready to throw them out, and I put them in my go-to bag. I'm probably not going to wear them very often. And because they're used and they're not brand new, if I have to throw them out, I don't have a problem with it. I like to take jogging pants or some kind of stretch pants. I don't actually wear jogging pants, but I do wear a spandex pant, and I like those. We need a sweater or a t-shirt. I don't often wear a robe when I'm in the hospital. I don't wear one at home either, but I always have a sweater on the go, as you might notice if you've seen my posts. So sweaters or t-shirts, and they can be old or new, it doesn't matter. Remember that the doctors and the nurses do not care what your pajamas look like. I can remember my mother getting so dressed up in the hospital. She'd be like done up to the nines, and she'd always have her makeup on when the doctor came in and her perfume and everything. I can imagine that they thought, you're not that sick. But anyways, yeah, the doctors and nurses don't really care what you're wearing. Take your underwear. There's nothing like having your own underwear. Um, and it's way better than going without, let me tell you. When I go in, they always put me on massive doses of Lasix. And so Lasix makes you go to the bathroom like a lot. So I'm always needing extra underwear, and I make sure that I have lots of very comfortable underwear. Socks or slippers are a good idea. Think about what you wear around the house. And before you throw a sweater away or donate it, put it in your go-to bag because it'll be comfortable at chores. The next thing that we do is cosmetics. Now, I get a small bag from a lunch bag from the dollar store. They're not very expensive. They're maybe $1.50 or $2. And it's lined with plastic. Now, this is a really good idea because if any of your liquids spill, it'll be contained inside the bag, right? I buy those small refillable bottles. And so I can take my shampoo and conditioner and moisturizers from home and have just enough to be able um, to use them. You can get these small refillable uh, bottles at the dollar store, and they're so cheap, and they have little pump handles on them, right? So They're really good. You can take those home, put a little bit of soap and whatever you need, whatever you normally use. It's not likely that you will be having a bath or a shower unless you've been there for a while. They're just not, they're not too much on hygiene, on personal hygiene in the hospital. Um, but make sure that you have moisturizers and lip balm. Most important, because without these two things, you will be so dry. And they they naturally keep it dry in the hospital. They keep the environment dry in the hospital. It's because it cuts down on mice. If there's too much moisture in the air, it invites the mice in. So they keep the environment very, very dry for the mouse and the rodent population. So soap and shampoo is essential, and I like liquid soap, so it just makes it easier for me to get it on the cloth and all of that stuff. Toothbrush and toothpaste. Now, you can get the small bottles at the dollar store, but I don't advise those. Um, Even though they look like they're made by Colgate, they're really not. And unless you can be assured that they are excellent product, I would still be getting them from the drugstore. Deodorant. Yes, very often we need deodorant. And a comb and a brush. And what else? What else do you think that you need in the way of cosmetics? You do not need makeup. You do not need eyeshadow. You need moisturizers. Moisturizers are most important. We need to take our electronics with us. These days, it's not as likely that we will have a payphone or a phone put into our room. So, we have to go with our phone. We have to travel with our phone. It's very, very important because that is our connection to the outside world, no matter where you end up, whether you end up in the hospital or if you end up in a center, or whether you end up in a hotel, you're going to need your phone. You're going to need to tell people where you are, and you're going to have to use it to communicate what the things that you need. So when I was in the hospital, I had my phone and my tablet. But when I had to buy internet, I could only use it on one or the other. And so I opted to use it on my phone because my uh, tablet, I couldn't call with it. So at least with my phone, I could do everything, right? I could read my books. I could watch movies if I wanted to. And I could call out if I wanted to. So everything was at my fingertips on the phone. Make sure that you take all the cords and chargers that you're going to need. Your phone is useless without the chargers. And I actually have a backup charger. You charge it, and then you charge your phone with it, and it will go through probably two. It'll go twice as much, right? Earphones is a great one. Earphones are essential, especially if you have somebody else in your room. And I like to put the earphones in. I like the big ones that go on my ears, so that they can see that I'm on it and they're not going to be talking to me or interrupting my movie or whatever, right? I'm not antisocial, but I don't always like to be at everybody's beck and call and having to stop what I'm doing to talk to them, right? Hand and face wipes. Kathleen, that is an excellent idea. So they have these wipes out now, adult wipes. They look very much like baby wipes, but they're not. They're for adults, and I can use those some days on days when I can't shower, when I just need a little bit of refreshment. So those are excellent too, face and hand wipes. Sometimes you can't get out of bed, right? Sometimes you just can't. Sometimes it's just not possible. And I've been in the hospital lots of times where I haven't been able to stand at the sink. So, the nurse would say, "Oh, just go to the sink and have a sponge bath." Well, easy for you to say, honey. So, having those face and hand wipes would be really, really good. Great. Um, Make sure you take your journal. A couple of reasons why you're going to take your journal. One is so that you can uh, write down what's going on in the hospital, what got you there, how you felt, what you need to tell the doctors. And the second reason is you need some place to write down the the uh, steps that the doctors give you, or the appointments that they've made, and what they hope is going to happen in the future. So I hope that you have a book to write in, and I hope it's your journal, because then you can go back when the doctor says, "Well, what happened back in January?" And so you can look back in January and say, "Well, this is what happened in January." So, um, yeah, make sure you have your journal. I like to take a small clip-on fan. And the reason why I like the clip-on one is because I can put it any place in my room. I have to have the fan going. At home, I sleep with two fans, one ceiling fan and one that sits on top of my dresser. So, not having that at night really makes a big difference. It's just the airflow, that's all, and the white noise. This fan that I bought was like $10. You get them, I don't know, almost anywhere, and they work great. They work great. If you have a BiPAP or a CPAP, make sure that you take these machines with you, and make sure that you have all the hoses and masks that they require. My husband came down one time with my BiPAP, but he didn't bring the hoses, or I don't know what he thought, that somebody else was going to have them. I don't know. Anyways, he had to go back and get them. So fixed him, right? If you have an oximeter and you depend on your oximeter, you should bring it. Also, if you use a flutter valve, and I know that there's tons of them out there, I use an air physio when I can't move the mucus. I know there's a whole bunch of them out there, but if you use it, you should throw it in your bag. A small amount of cash, uh, if you need something picked up, that's a good idea, Janice. And make sure that you have, I don't know, I wonder how much a phone call costs now if you needed to use a phone. I have no idea how much a phone call costs. But a small amount of cash is good. Just be careful that you're not taking too much cash with you, because, you know, there was a story on the news last night about somebody that walked into a senior's residence, like a nursing home, walked into her room and took $170 out of her purse and just said he was a PSW, but they don't know who he was. He didn't work there. So that was too bad, right? If you've got it, they can take it, right? So, last but not least, always have a list of your medications. And even if you can't get a hold of your medications or get them into the suitcase, having a list of the medications means that you will be able to order them. And you can always order them, saying that you're under duress, you can't get into your house or whatever. In the meantime, you have a list for the doctor to tell him what meds you're on and why you're on them. After we take a list of the meds, make sure that you have anything that has to go with the meds, like a spacer. Don't assume that they will have these in the hospital, because they don't always, right? So, it's you got to think about it. You got to think about In the worst case scenario, what would I need if this should happen? I hope that you're aware of the weather. You keep your eye on things and watch what's happening, because you may have to leave within a moment's notice. And I hope that if you do, you are prepared. This is Barbara Moore for Catch Your Breath 60, and I appreciate everybody who viewed me today. Thank you.